Every single War Thunder player knows how it feels to start researching a new vehicle, looking at the research bar and seeing the mass amount of RP needed to unlock it. To new players, War Thunder has a special allure to it, the promise of being able to play with over 100 years worth of aviation, naval and tank development. That promise is hidden behind a sprawling, multi-nation clusterfuck of tanks, aircraft and warships. Going from an interwar biplane to a 4+ generation fighter is not a simple journey, it's a fucking marathon. Except for the fact that this marathon isn't measured in kilometers, but in hundreds, and more often than not, thousands of hours. This leads the way to what I call the pace paradox. The pace paradox says that attempting to do a complex, long-term goal as fast as possible can actually result in slower overall time than if you simply took your time to do it. Rushing generates burnout, fatigue-induced errors, and diminishing returns that vastly slow your progress down. In War Thunder, this is almost a fundamental aspect of the game's design, due to both some game mechanics and the player's psychological response to them. This is the War Thunder pace paradox. So why is it that we actually want to rush?
Vehicle progression in War Thunder is an escalating scale, with early ranks being relatively quick, helping new players feel as if they are achieving a lot. However, reaching rank 4 vehicles, the amount of RP increases drastically.
So seeing how long it takes to get newer vehicles, new players often try to rush around here, and Gaijin's monetization model feeds into this need for speed. Premium vehicles and premium time act as accelerators, which can give the player boosts that will increase their gains by many times. Premiums effectively are tools to new players to beat the grind.
However, this almost always activates the sunk cost fallacy.
Having spent a lot of money on a premium account or premium vehicle makes a player feel obligated to play it more, to get their money's worth. This makes the game feel more like a second job, except it's from hell and you actually pay it rather than it pay you. There's also the pressure from boosters. Activating these can, for a limited time, add up to a 500% or even 900% gain on your earnings. When a player activates one, they feel a need for perfection. Every second spent flying or driving to the combat zone is a wasted opportunity and a waste of a valuable resource. The goal of the game suddenly stops being to win or have fun, but it becomes to perform and get as much RP and SL as possible. The War Thunder economy also has built-in mechanisms that intentionally punish the player if they attempt to rush the tech tree. The most glaring one of these is the research efficiency penalty. In War Thunder, a vehicle is the most efficient at researching vehicles at the same rank as it, or one above or below. Go outside this narrow window and your RP gains will plummet. This is the game demanding rank consistency of the player. If a player tries to use a rank 1 tank to research a rank 6 tank, they will lose 95% of their RP gains. This forces the player to progress linearly, such as using rank 4 vehicles to grind rank 5. This makes the player play vehicles that are good for grinding, not vehicles that they actually enjoy playing. The second mechanic here is the SL economy. While not as bad as it could have been if not for the 2023 review bombing, it is still heavily stacked against the player. High tier vehicles cost millions of SL, and even more to crew them. This makes it so that you could change to a slightly newer vehicle, but why would you when you can just save the money and use the one that you're still using now?
We're so sorry, Uncle Albert.
Unlike other, more arcadey games, War Thunder has instant failure. One well-placed shot can end your game instantly. For a player who is rushing to try and get the most amount of RP, this is devastating. They often commit aggressively, pushing too far to try and get an extra kill, only to be shot by someone with better positioning.
Repeated instant failures can lead to what is called learned helplessness. The player stops believing that their own personal skill dictates the outcome. Instead, they attribute their own failures to external factors. There are often a whole range of these, going from unfair mechanics, good enemies, bad teammates, and even to plain old bad luck.
This leads me into tilt, which will need a bit of explaining. Tilt is a term that references a state of mind in which the player has lesser cognitive skills caused by sheer frustration. The term tilt has an interesting history, with it beginning with pinball players. Seeing the ball go in a perfect arc to the gaps between the flippers caused some players to begin physically tilting the machine. However, creators of the pinball machines figured this out, and began adding tilt sensors to their cabinets. Tilting the pinball machine would cause the word tilt to appear on the screen, and the flippers to lock up, making the player lose the game. This term spread from pinball to poker, where it eventually spread to video gaming. In War Thunder, there's a pretty obvious cycle for tilt. Firstly, a player loads into a new game. Then the player gets instantly killed or performs poorly due to poor judgment. Then the player gets frustrated and blames the loss on external factors. The next game, the player compensates this wasted time by playing overly aggressive, abandoning good tactics to recover the lost time. The recklessness leads to an even quicker, more frustrating death. This cycle repeats itself until finally the player quits for the day, only to be repeated when they next log on.
Acting upon information received.
The biggest consequence of the pace paradox is the measurable drop in cognitive function during rushed sessions. War Thunder requires extremely high levels of situational awareness. In air battles, you have to constantly scan around you for enemies, teammates, their speed, locations, armament, anything you can think of. In ground battles, you need to hear the enemy's engines, predict their movement routes, and predict their sightlines. When a player is fatigued and in a state of tilt, their situational awareness is the first thing to go out of the window. They lose track of enemies, miss subtle sound cues, and become overall less aware. They become fixated only on their immediate target, letting them easily be killed by anyone else. This is known in War Thunder as tunnel vision. A focused, slower player has much higher situational awareness, survives longer, and gains more kills, which results in high RP gains per match. The player who rushes, however, gets a fraction of the RP. The slow pace here is faster overall for RP gains.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, it's pretty simple what you should be doing. You should be taking it slow when you play War Thunder, rather than just trying to rush for top tier. You just need to acknowledge, especially if you're a new player, that getting to top tier will take time. It will take a lot of time, especially if you don't spend any money on the game. Unfortunately, War Thunder is how it is. It's a free game. Gaijin does need to monetize it somehow. Now, it may be scummy, but ultimately that's how they've decided to monetize War Thunder.